DogWorks Radio is sponsored by Alaska Dog Works. Check out their website at alaskadogworks.com.
You can support this podcast on patreon.com/firstpawmedia.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by First Paw Coffee Company, specializing in private label premium blend coffee. If you're serious about coffee, you should check it out. First Paw Coffee's passion is high-quality, small-batch roasted coffee. They take the extra time to taste and get everything perfect before they release new blends. They aim to bring you a cup of happiness each time you pour yourself some coffee. Find out more at ak.dog/free and enter for a chance to win some First Paw Coffee prizes, a book from our collection, and tote bag. One winner will be selected at random each month. That's ak.dog/free.
President Biden signed the PAWS Act into law last month. The PAWS Act, or Puppies Assisting Wounded Service Members for Veterans Therapy Act, authorizes the Secretary of Veteran Affairs to create a pilot program on dog training therapy that will provide dog training skills and service dogs to veterans with mental illnesses.
From First Paw Media, sponsored by Alaska Dog Works Professional Canine Training Center in Anchorage, Alaska. This is DogWorks Radio, committed to families and their dogs to build lifelong and fulfilling relationships. Visit our website at dogworksradio.com. Now here are your hosts, Robert and Michele Forto.
Hello and welcome to DogWorks Radio. I'm your host, Michele Forto, and I'm the lead trainer of Alaska Dog Works, where we help humans and their dogs have better relationships. It's a big day for veterans in need of service dogs now that President Biden has signed into law the PAWS Act. On this episode of the podcast, I will discuss what the act means for America's veterans, service dogs in general, the impact a law like this has, and my personal take on it. As you know, we have been training service dogs for a long time through our Lead Dog Service Dog program here at Alaska Dog Works. We have helped several dozen veterans in training service dogs for them for PTSD, mobility, and more. While we are excited to see what becomes of this new law, we have a few reservations which I will discuss later in this episode. Note, with or without the PAWS Act, we will continue to offer our service dog training programs to veterans and plan to continue to work with a local nonprofit organization that has been wonderful in the past to offset the costs of the training so that the veterans can receive one of our dogs at no cost to them. For more information on our services, please visit alaskadogworks.com and click on the Service Dog tab. This has been a 5-year battle to try and convince the federal government that what we do every day is valuable and helps veterans. Rory Diamond, CEO of Canine for Warriors, said to First Coast News. They're finally agreeing and we're getting a big breakthrough here. The U.S. Senate unanimously passed the bill earlier this month after it was passed by the House in March. Diamond said the $10 million 5-year pilot program will take effect on January 1st, 2022. For the first time in American history, he says, the VA will pay for service dogs for veterans with PTSD. We commend the White House for supporting this bill as a critical step in combating veteran suicide, and we're confident in the path ahead for service dogs, ultimately becoming a covered VA benefit to veterans with PTSD, Diamond said in a news release. In communicating with veterans and their healthcare providers, it's more imperative than ever to embrace the life-saving impact of a service dog and to raise awareness for this treatment option as a proven method for mitigating debilitating symptoms of PTSD and suicidal ideations. The news release says the new law will also designate eligible veterans to receive dog training instruction from non-governmental accredited 501c3 nonprofit service dog training organizations like Canines for Warriors, allow eligible veterans to learn positive reinforcement training and skills that are unique to their own needs to help address or alleviate their PTSD symptoms, provide veterans participating in the program with the opportunity to adopt a dog that they actively assisted in their training, provided that the veteran and their health provider determine it to be in the best interest of the veteran. There are over 100,000 veterans, we think, who need a service dog because of their post-traumatic stress. Right now, Canines for Warriors can help a couple of hundred a year. What this will do is take that little tiny hose pipe and turn it into a whole avalanche of service dogs eventually down the road. We'll see that happen, Diamond said earlier this month. 22 veterans a day taking their lives every day by suicide. This is one of the best ways we can fight it, says Diamond. The pilot program will involve organizations across America. Navy veteran John Tappan completed the Canines for Warriors 3-week program in April with his new companion Henry. Tappan says Henry gave him a new lease on life and saved his life. I needed help and I didn't know where it would come from. I didn't know what form it would be in. I never thought in a million years a service dog would be the answer, Tappan told First Coast News. We know we are going to be able to save so many more warriors, Diamond said. Of course, Canines for Warriors being the largest and best known for doing it, we will be leading the way. After the break, I will share my thoughts on the whole thing. So please stay tuned.
So earlier, you learned about First Paw Coffee Company. Now I'm going to tell you about its Trailbreaker Blend. First Paw Coffee Company's Trailbreaker Blend is inspired by our love of the Northern Lights, frosty paws, and sled dog trails. How cool is that? The Trailbreaker Blend is a private label premium blend that was developed just for them. It's a medium dark roast from Central and South America, highlighting flavors of brown sugar, hazelnut, and plum. Be sure to go to ak.dog/free and enter to win a bunch of cool prizes. That's ak.dog/free.
All right, guys. So here is my professional take. While I think the PAWS Act is great in and of itself, it only is a pilot study and will only involve a few organizations that train dogs. It will also only work with nonprofits. While there is nothing wrong with going the nonprofit route, we decided years ago to go for a business model that does not rely solely on fundraising and have to answer to a board. In our opinion, we want to make the best use of our time by training dogs for our clients, not asking for money to offset the very expensive training. Sure, much larger companies than ours may have the resources and staff to oversee fundraising and another team that does the actual training. But what if they don't? Also, we have found that puppy raiser programs rarely work out well. While they can and do provide much needed early socialization for prospective service dog puppies, the real work begins when you start the advanced training. Many organizations follow a model where they train every dog to fit set parameters for a particular specialty, like PTSD in the case of the PAWS model. Our company feels that working with the client from the very beginning works wonders over a service dog recipient coming to a week or two long camp to learn how to handle their dog. Imagine the bond that can form over the 2-year training plan with a service dog and its handler, instead of that recipient potentially waiting up to 2 years for their service dog. A lot can happen with someone with PTSD in those 2 years. We believe that working together and with a trainer and the recipient's family, it can produce much better results for everyone, including the dog. which often have about a 75% failure rate anyhow, when they all work through the entire program. Furthermore, I mentioned that we work with a group that provides the financial commitment to veterans in need of a service dog. Much like the organizations that will be a part of the pilot study, we see that when the financial burden is lifted from the veteran, the real work of training and helping really begins. It is important to note that our program primarily serves veterans in Alaska, where we do have a very large military population with 3 military bases in the state alone. What we are seeing over the past year or so is a declining demand for service dogs for our servicemen and women. This is a good thing, but it makes me wonder if other programming may become necessary as our military winds down from more than 2 decades of constant war. In our professional and humble opinion, I believe that there will still be a need for PTSD service dogs. There are also areas of potential service for our veterans. Programs like the Veterans Training Service Dogs for therapy work, a much different type of dog, and if you don't know the difference, I urge you to check out some of our podcast episodes on the differences between service, therapy, emotional support, crisis response dogs, etc. In this therapy dog program, we can have the added benefit of providing programming for our veterans, but they can also use this as a way to give back, if you will. These dogs may be used for school visits, veterans hospitals, at service organizations like the Elks Lodge, VFWs, etc. It is something we are pondering. The bottom line is that I find this entire issue fascinating and can't wait for your input on it all. Join the discussion. I will love reading what you have to say. Meanwhile, back at camp, we are back again, having been gone for more in September than we've been here, it seems. Last weekend, Robert and I were back east in the lower 48 to go to a music festival and see some of his family, while pro trainer Nicole was here training the camp dogs and meeting with clients. Nicole has been with us for about 9 months after taking a few years off from working in the family business. If you did not know, Nicole is our daughter and has been around dogs her entire life. She has worked with clients since she was 9 years old. She is now 24 and helped train a couple service dogs named Bailey and Brady at that very young age. Bailey was for a veteran that has PTSD. As I have said, we have been doing this a long time. We are also getting ready for another Alaskan winter. Snow came quick this year with a bit of accumulation just last week. There are always chores to be done and new and current clients to work with. Soon it will be -20 degrees and we will be moving a lot of our private lessons inside. Camps will still go on and the cold weather doesn't seem to faze the dogs at all. We're going to take another short break, and when we return, we're going to talk about another service dog story that recently appeared in the news.
We're living in uncertain times. If there is one thing we can be thankful for, that is the recent pet adoption boom. Shelters are being cleared out, and that means you may not know much about your new best friend. Alaska Dogworks virtual and on-site classes are the best way for you to build a lasting bond and learn about your pup, new or old. From setting up a proper routine to learning the commands and much more, Alaska Dogworks provides you with the resources to develop your dog into one of the best. Right now, Alaska Dogworks has an exclusive offer just for our listeners. Go to alaskadogworks.com now and use promo code DOGWORKS and save 20% off your training program at the time of your booking. Visit alaskadogworks.com and use promo code DOGWORKS to save 20% today. That's alaskadogworks.com and use promo code DOGWORKS at the time of booking.
Just this week, Robert and I traveled back from Chicago to Alaska, and waiting at the gate was one of the best service dogs in training that either of us has ever seen. The dog and his handler worked perfectly together, and you could immediately see that they had not only a relationship, but the skills in working together, and it is a much different scenario than we typically see. In fact, just as we were admiring the skills of this team, we watched a fellow passenger walk down the busy airport thoroughfare with a Malinois type dog in a muzzle. Yep, a basket muzzle. This was not a police dog or a working dog, but a passenger with a rolling suitcase and all. We fly a lot, you guys. Robert has been a MVP Gold member for about a decade, meaning he flies at least 40,000 miles a year on one airline. And that's not a brag, but that is a lot of time spent in airport terminals observing blatant abuse from the flying public who feel the need to take their, quote, service dog or emotional support dog on the plane with them. As you may have heard, the airlines are addressing this issue by passing new rules to curb such behavior. And this is a topic of several of our podcast episodes. But what is relatively new is the airlines are allowing service dogs in training, just like that exceptionally well-trained team I just mentioned, to fly with their dogs in training. United Airlines, for example, has this policy: service dogs in training. United only recognizes service dogs that have been trained and certified. Dog trainers are permitted to bring on board, free of charge, one service dog that is in training to assist disabled travelers. These service dogs must not occupy a seat. Trainers who are transporting service dogs in the ordinary course of business, or service dogs that aren't in training, must check these dogs. What is not permitted yet, and we feel should, are therapy dog teams that are allowed to fly in the cabin. But back to the United and their policies. Therapy animals are pets that have been trained and registered by a therapy organization to visit nursing homes, hospitals, schools, and other facilities. They are not considered to be service animals. When traveling a therapy animal, standard pet-related regulations and restrictions will apply. As you know, these pet-related restrictions mean that the dog flies in cargo or in the cabin with these rules. We know that pets are important members of your family, but to keep them and other travelers safe, you must follow the rules below. Again, this is per United Airlines. Requirements for in-cabin pets. On domestic flights, puppies and kittens must be at least 2 months old. On international flights, puppies and kittens must be at least 4 months old due to rabies vaccination requirements. Pets cannot travel with unaccompanied minors. If you want to bring aboard an additional pet, you'll need to buy an extra ticket for that pet and pay an additional $125 each way. Your pet must also always remain in the floor space under the seat. If your pet doesn't fit in a kennel, then they'll need to travel with our Pet Safe program. Pets must travel on the same flights as the traveler responsible for them. If there's an emergency, oxygen service won't be available for pets. Documentation. There are various state and country entry rules for animals, and it's up to you to know what they are and to comply with them. If you're traveling internationally, please see the Hawaii and International Travel section on the United Airlines website. And if you're traveling to the U.S. from another country, please see the health declarations and vaccination requirements for dogs and cats entering the U.S. on the United Airlines website. Carriers and kennels. A pet traveling in cabin must be carried in an approved hard-sided or soft-sided kennel. The kennel must fit completely under the seat in front of you and remain there at all times. The maximum dimensions for hard-sided kennels are 17.5 inches long by 12 inches wide and just 7.5 inches tall. The recommended maximum dimensions for the soft-sided kennels are a little bit longer, slightly narrower, and a little bit taller. Soft-sided pet carriers can exceed these dimensions slightly because they are collapsible and able to fit underneath a seat without blocking the aisle. Only one pet is allowed in a kennel, and the animal must be able to stand up and turn around comfortably. Pets in the baggage and cargo compartments on Alaska Airlines. Alaska Airlines accepts most small domesticated pets. Pets that may travel in the climate-controlled baggage and cargo compartments include cats, dogs, ferrets, guinea pigs, hamsters, household birds, non-poisonous reptiles, pot-bellied pigs, rabbits, and tropical fish. The following regulations apply. Dogs and cats must be at least 8 weeks of age and weaned. No more than one live dog or cat 6 months of age or older may be transported in the same kennel. No more than one live puppy 8 weeks to 6 months of age and weighing over 20 pounds may be transported in the same kennel. No more than 2 live puppies or kittens 8 weeks to 6 months of age that are comparable size and weighing 20 pounds or less may be transported in the same kennel. Animals must be harmless, inoffensive, not destructive to itself or the kennel, and require no attention during transit. There are cargo options with Pet Connect. Food and water have to be checked for the animal. And climate-controlled baggage compartment is available to your dog or cat when traveling on Alaska Airlines. Alaska Airlines does not transfer pets to other airlines. If your trip includes a transfer to any other airline, you must allow time to pick up your pet in the baggage claim area and recheck your pet with the connecting airline. If a delay prevents your pet's flight from departing, your pet may be placed in a kennel facility until it can be transported. Costs incurred due to weather-related delays are the responsibility of the pet owner. Alaska Airlines will accept a pet and kennel combined weight of up to 150 pounds. You guys, I know that a lot of the information that I just gave you from United and Alaska Airlines, you can find directly on their websites. But you guys would be surprised at how many times I get phone calls from people asking me exactly these questions about how do I fly with my dog? What is the procedure? What do I do if X happens or if Y happens? You know, here's my best advice. If you get a dog and you are going to travel, or you know you're going to travel more than once a year, you need to find a reputable boarding facility to take care of your dog when you are away if you find it difficult or impossible to place your dog in the cargo area. If you are going to travel a lot and you know this, then I suggest that you either don't get a dog or get a dog that fits the requirements to travel in the cabin, placed properly in a kennel under the seat. And this goes back to one of my number one things that I advise everyone to do over and over again. Kennel train your dog. So, guys, what do you think about the PAWS Act and the service and pet dogs on flights? Let us know on our social channels. Just search DogWorks Radio. And do you know, the single best thing that you can do for our show is to tell your friends and family about it and maybe show them how to listen. Maybe they will become a rabid listener just like you. I'm Michele Forto for DogWorks Radio. See you next time.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by First Paw Coffee Company. Learn more at firstpaw.coffee.
From First Paw Media, this is DogWorks Radio. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we invite you to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find a link on the episode notes. You can tap or swipe on the episode cover art, and you'll see some offers from our sponsors. You can support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have heard, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe too. Your hosts are Robert and Michele Forto. Our producer is Robert Forto and created for First Paw Media.
Did you know that Alaska Dog Works trains service dogs for those in need throughout North America? Each and every service dog that is trained through the Lead Dog Service Dog Program and Michele Forto and her team has an individual training plan. We train for autistic, mobility, psychiatric, and PTSD for our soldiers for service work. If you know of someone that may need a service dog, please take a moment and check out Alaska Dog Works on social media and at alaskadogworks.com.